The following is a conversation about differences between Hollywood and the European cinema between me, Rakib, and Irfan. We also be using a phrase known as ass to ass, so I highly recommend you guys to YouTube that if you're going to listen to this episode. So please, enjoy the podcast.
Back in my day, you could get shit on your chest at any time you want. You didn't even need to ask for ass to ass. They just gave you ass to ass.
For fuck's sake, our religion is called Shinto. What do you fucking think it was for, huh?
Shit, no.
It's Shinto, motherfucker. It just
Not shit, no. Come on now.
I forgot what we were talking about.
I totally forgot too. This ass to ass is really overpowering this entire episode. It's just Darren Aronofsky and his lack of art.
You know who, like, I don't want to call him out, and I don't want to use his name, but we've talked about him. He made a few Malaysian films, Bunuh Han, Dukun, this guy named Dain Said. He's a director, filmmaker, right? And I really liked his first few films. And then I watched Interchange.
Oh.
Have you seen Interchange?
I haven't seen Interchange.
Interchange it's crazy how much, like, someone should have stopped him. Like, someone should have really said at one point, like, hey, Dine, are we sure about this, man?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of shots of just windows. Like, can we cut down on the window shots?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it reminds me of the Nicholas... I forgot his name. He had the series. He had a movie called Only God Forgives.
Oh,
and Drive. And
yes. Nicholas Winding Refn. He did Drive.
Yeah. Drive was a great film. But then after that, everything became a staring contest. Like, I watched his last film, the last Netflix episode.
Oh,
Netflix. He has a Netflix series. I forgot the name. He has a picture of a skeleton, and it's about couple of episodes, and I watched the first episode, and I was like, I'm done. I know if this is gonna be the way it's gonna go, I'm done.
Was it with Miles Teller?
Yeah. And
but it's on Netflix now.
It was a Netflix. It was when at the heyday of Netflix, it came out, and it was. I don't know what the reception was. I just know that it was like. There was it took one person would ask a question, it would be like a 5-minute slow zoom on the other person's face until it was like, hey, do you want a cookie? And it's like 5 minutes later, no. It's like, and then the 5 minutes to the other person to say, but why? It's like stupid shit. Yeah. And his thing is that, the art, you need to get bored and you need to feel this. And I was like, I am just looking at Miles Teller looking semi-constipated into the camera. So can you please
he doesn't
pick up the pace?
Yeah. He doesn't do picture frames. That was the word I was going to use. What's the fucking thing? He doesn't use storyboards.
I don't know.
Nicholas Winding Refn. So usually what happens if you're planning like in pre-production, you don't have access to the location. So you're planning shots. You're planning like, okay, this is where we're going to sit and everything like that. Not only does he shoot chronologically, which is not normal, he also doesn't do storyboards. Yeah. So when he goes to the location, that's when he's like, okay, let's see what we can do. And with Only God Forgives, specifically, his wife did a documentary about the filming, about them being in Bangkok and them like filming the whole thing. And one of the things that they like ran into was the fact that like they were writing as they were going. Oh. So he was writing as they were going. Oh. And it sort of explains certain things, like the movie and stuff like that. But I haven't seen the Miles Teller one, but I've seen his most recent one, which was Neon Demon, I think.
Oh, he was before that, yeah. I saw that one. I saw that as one.
I enjoyed that from a perspective of like, oh, this is weird as shit. Like, this is not... I'm not going to watch this if I'm, like, trying to turn off and trying to go to sleep.
You're going to watch it?
I'm going to watch it and trying to, like, understand certain things. But I do get you that it's just, like... Because there was one shot in Neon Demon that, like, reminds me of what you said, where she was walking down the runway and she
Makes out with herself.
makes
With the
out with
mirror,
herself in the mirror,
the
right?
finish shot, yeah.
The triangle thing,
Yeah,
right?
the triangle mirror, yeah.
And then that's her like switch
Yeah.
from like this, you know,
Pure.
innocent, naive girl. She's suddenly this model, you know,
Yeah.
supermodel. And that shot made sense to me because I was like, I understand why that's a long shot. I understand why that takes a long time because it's the shift.
Yeah.
So that needs to make sense. I don't know, but I do get what you mean when like in Only God Forgives, the amount of times that Ryan Gosling is just staring at his hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, at some point we all know what your hands look like, dude.
It's okay, man. We get it. Yeah,
We get it.
You're pretty, okay?
We get it. You have nice hands too. All right.
Yeah. Those hands been inside Eva Mendes. Come on. I know.
Okay.
I get it.
It's just-
we all want those hands. I wish I was those hands.
I wish I was those hands.
There's some ways where
I'm a hand.
there's some ways where like a long panning shot really works if you just want to establish
Yeah.
mood.
Yeah.
Like in the original Blade Runner, where the two main characters meet first in the streets, there is a zoom out panning shot where you just see a landscape of the whole environment to give you
Yes.
an idea, and it's a lot longer than it has to be.
Mm.
But it makes full use of the backdrop and the landscape. That makes sense to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
When it first came out, people didn't understand why the movie was so draggy, and then
It's like,
On
no,
the
it's supposed
rewatches,
Yeah.
people understood like
Yeah.
what the value of it was.
right,
Definitely in 2049 as well.
yeah,
2049 was. It was a movie I was very divided on. At first,
Okay.
I hated it.
Mhm.
Not a hate. Hate is a strong word. I expected to love it.
Mm.
That's the way to put it. But I didn't love it. But the thing is, I can never get it out of my head.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
As it went on, I was keep going like the shots of him walking.
You just feel
You feel the dystopia
Mhm.
and the whole destruction, like especially when he goes to see Harrison Ford and he goes into this orange fog.
dude,
Right.
that
And
was
you're
so cool.
Wondering, okay, what the fuck happened to the world and where we're at?
Yeah.
And those are the questions that comes across. Because at first I was really expecting a bit more of it's very difficult to tell somebody like, hey, describe the story for me for 2049.
Yeah.
And nobody managed to like connect the dots.
That's right.
It's just not like, okay, androids created babies.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's not
girl-
allowed.
Yeah.
So like he has to go around.
Yeah, Harrison
trying to
Ford
find
is
the
an
thing.
android, maybe.
Maybe.
But he's an android too, but he's not a chosen one, you see.
Yeah,
But
But he
like,
doesn't know he's the android and he's got
Yeah.
his memories. Yeah.
you can't tell it. But the thing is, it gives you a taste. So when I watched it, I didn't regret it.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true.
It's like,
It
you know
gives you
what?
enough.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, a movie is long shots and these like wide shots that they put in, and the colors and everything is so in tune that you can smell it, you can taste it.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
a good one is actually like a good person to reference here is David Fincher.
David Fincher, yeah.
He's always this oily, dirty color, very you know it's like it's you know
Grimy.
yeah you know nothing good is really happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Everything is bare bone disgust.
Yeah.
And this same thing happened with the 2049.
Yeah.
Those all the shots and everything elements there gave me a trip of a feeling that I'm going to have, and a feeling that you might even feel resonating with inside.
Yeah.
Nicholas Winding Refn, whatever, however you pronounce it.
NWR.
Yeah, NWR. That dude, with drive, achieved it. With Only God Forgives, he tried to double down on it. He failed. Neon Demon, I think that was when he tried to start sucking his own dick, literally. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
Like colors.
It's like, called neon here. What's it gonna be? Hey, we got your shirt. What color should it be? Neon. Without any point to it.
You know he's colorblind.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah, he's colorblind. That's the main reason why like all of his stuff is so like hugely like colors and like neon and shit like that.
Interesting.
It's because he literally cannot see when the colors are too close to each other. So he just makes it as far apart.
So he
as
makes
possible.
these either really monochromatic shots or shots with incredibly bright.
incredible like contrast and
Yeah, that
Yeah.
explains the
That
features.
explains a lot, actually. But still, like in Neon Demon.
So that's not a fucking excuse, Nicholas.
Yeah, still exactly the same shit. It's like if he's colorblind, but he's not. Does that make him stupid? It's like, does color blindness affect your
Well,
IQ?
there is a theory. Look into it. The color.
The colorblind is in your mind, bro. The government put colorblind people.
Colorblindness is just a choice, man.
You believe in colors?
You believe in colors? Go for a walk. You won't be blind.
Yeah,
Fucking
go
look into
outside,
it, man.
touch some grass. I heard it
We
has
have
a
the
color.
We have
You
the
might have heard of it.
documents.
We have the documents.
We have the documents. Alex Jones. But that's with this whole shebang of his art style. Like a movie that I would say is like impactful and you can drag and I don't give a shit. Like Apocalypse Now is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually seen Apocalypse Now.
Or Taxi Driver. Even Taxi Driver has like long shots of him driving. And it serves a purpose because you're in it with him.
These are what are called atmospheric shots.
Yeah.
They set environment as opposed to tell the
But
story.
it has a purpose.
Yeah.
It's exposition.
But Nicholas does not like if there's a question like how are you, is that necessary for the person to wait for this long take to answer to reply
Unless
to it?
this is like at the end of the film and like so much shit has happened to him.
Yeah.
And then they ask the question, how are you? And then it's a slow zoom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, and I think he fucking fucked. Because Hideo Kojima started drinking his own Kool-Aid. It affected the way the Stranding was developed to make it boring. Because they were talking about being bored.
Yeah, was okay. So I heard about the Death Stranding thing.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made them famous before Death Stranding?
Because Metal Gear Solid.
Okay,
So like all my penis.
Is it?
See, that penis had been sucked on by quite a few people. At some point, you're gonna have to suck your own. You know?
Michael, want to see my Shago hog?
No, okay. The thing about Hideo Kojima is that he really just wanted to be a movie producer or a director.
He wanted to be a director.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, and he just never got the chance. So what he does is he makes his games to be as cinematic as possible. That's why Metal Gear Solid 2 is literally
Solid 4.
Even number 2 was scored by Hans Zimmer because he wanted to be
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
He really just wanted to be a movie.
Metal Gear Solid 4. Sorry, I thought you were going to mention about the cutscene. Metal Gear Solid 4 is literally a movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's all animation. It's 17-hour animation.
Jeez.
It's like
Okay.
long animations and expositions and stuff and trying to explain and wrap up the story.
Right.
Brilliantly, actually, because I really loved it. Metal Gear Solid 5, however, it really missed the mark. Because of the development and whatever.
Right. So was Death Stranding? Because from what I heard, it was such a departure from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
That it became like almost like the second album of an artist. Where like because the first one is so big and so like it sets the tone, and they get to the second album and you're like,
dude.
Yeah, dude. Was it that? Or like what made it boring?
You know what it is? It's like Pink Floyd really getting into its experimental phase after the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But still not delivering on it. Because even Pink Floyd, when it was experimenting, there was certain thing that I was like,
Yeah.
Death Stranding didn't have that I had a conversation with Chris Crawford, actually,
Oh,
the
sure, okay.
famous game designer of the old days.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was discussing, because it's like, I hate open world games
Okay.
unless it manages to make the open world have a purpose
Right.
Mhm.
and have some good autonomy and volition.
Right.
For me, autonomy is not about me going on top of a mountain and jerk off on top of it, or pee if I'm feeling like I want to pee.
Well, we're
Right.
very different men.
Yeah.
I know that. But if you, like a GTA 5 when it came out, that was the first game I ever played that I enjoyed as an open world, because there was purpose behind the sandbox. And also everything was highly interactive to a certain degree, but good degree.
Mhm.
And a great example of it was I found out was that before you used to like have to run around the barricades and all that. I shot a cop and then it escalated. I had to run away. I ran towards a fence. I thought I have to go find the entrance to the fence. By some miracle, the game itself helped me jump over the fence. And I was like, oh. And I jumped over the balcony of a place, and then a train came. And I jumped in the wagon of the train, and the train took me to a tunnel. And then the helicopter kind of chased me until the train took me far away from the helicopter, and I escaped. It was a very organic thing that happened within the game, but there was a action to it. There was a logic to it. There was more logic to it than there was. It's not just that, hey, I can go around the place. I can actually interact with the environment and get a response. Death Stranding, however, is a game that doesn't have that amount of interaction.
Is it an open world game?
It's an open world
It's
game.
an open world game.
Hugely open world. It has one element which is very interesting, which is actually, because it's an open world and it's an online game, what it actually entails is that because you have to build roads and make things easier for yourself. So online people can actually share the resources, and you can actually leave stuff for the other players when they play the game. The whole game is about you taking packages from point A to point B. That's all there is to the game. There are some events happen in the middle.
Sure.
So, but the terrains and all that is very fucked up, and you have to make sure the package is delivered. You're a package delivery guy. So then people like start building roads. You would like try to go over the terrain, and you suddenly find somebody left a ladder for you, and you can leave a message for them there. That in that aspect, it was actually very interesting. But that's as far as it went. Because then it was like, okay, what's the story? Nobody really understands the story. It doesn't have that very interesting political subtext of the Metal Gear. There's no logic to it either. You kind of go like, all right, I'm not getting it, and then at the end, it even becomes silly. The person is like, Kojima like tried to break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And the lady turns around and says like, let's run across the beach like Mario, and you can call me Princess Peach. And they run across it with like Mario style, and you're like, okay, this is what's happening when somebody drinks his own Kool-Aid.
This is a clear example of something a video game should do even less than a movie, which is you should be showing, but instead you're telling.
Right.
Because there is a lot of plot in Death Stranding, but all of it is in cutscenes, and there's like an hour's long worth of cutscenes. If you cut all of the cutscenes out of the game and just played them back to back, you would have a feature-length movie. And people have literally done that on YouTube.
Yeah, that was the first thing I watched actually. I just put the cutscenes on, and I wanted to see what the story was. And I was massively disappointed. Because it's like it didn't hold a candle to what it could be.
Yeah.
It felt sloppy. And even at the end, it gives you a choice, but the choice doesn't even matter. It gives you a choice to shoot the lady who's an extinction entity who will like kill everybody, but you can't shoot her. The gun because the gun doesn't work, and so you have to hug her. And you're really wondering to this like,
why?
Especially because they give him carte blanche. And And somebody said from the studio that actually it was supposed to be a lot more action packed.
Yeah.
But even like the action was sloppy.
Yeah.
It had all these cool things when it was like came the trailer. I fucking like loved it. But every time, like me and my brother were talking, it's like you notice that the Metal Gear 5 and Death Stranding has the best trailers, but the gameplay fucking fails because when the trailers come, it says edited and directed by Hideo Kojima. The trailer. So it's like he takes more pleasure out of that
than the actual game.
Yeah, with the exception of PT.
Sure.
Right.
Which was a very creative endeavor.
Sure.
But yeah.
It was talking about open world games. I thought about Cyberpunk 2077 recently because it came out and it was massively flawed, right?
Yeah, it was fucked. A lot of people said that.
And until the major patches started coming out, the people who were really saving the game for everybody had already modders.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting mods that I saw available for 2077 was a mod that actually made your life path choices relevant to how you play.
Okay.
So you could either play as an outworlder who's somebody from the outskirts, or a street kid who's like a gangster, or a corpo who is somebody who comes from the top of the corporations, right? But the problem is when you pick the life path, you pretty much end up from zero, and then you have to work your way from the bottom of society, right? Yeah. And then your missions, because they're delegated by you having Keanu Reeves inside your head, telling you stuff. Right, this anti-establishment order. There is no deviation from that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. You're essentially going to be an anti-establishment person yourself. Right. So you don't really get to choose your life path, even when you get to choose your life path. The one thing the mods did to rectify that was to reflect your life path in how you played the game, which meant that if you started out as a street kid, you would do less damage to your fellow gangsters, your fellow street people,
right?
Or you would do more damage, but then you would do less damage to the other people, and you would be less relevant to the other people. But also, I'm guessing that there were more. Basically, how you interacted with the environment had more influence based on what path you picked.
Right. So what a game should do.
Which is what a game should do. So a lot of these patches were basically just designed to put in elements that should have been there in the first place. Like if you use too many health kits, it's actually bad for you, and then
there's consequences.
There's consequences
to constantly take. Basically modification and all that.
Or they put in tram lines into the game. Because it's all in a city, but there's no like metro system. So one of the mods puts in a metro system.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the trailers and all the thing, you see a metro system, but in the game
there's no metro system. So they modded a metro system into the game. And
in the anime as well, there's a metro system.
So what now?
The Cyberpunk from an anime? Am I thinking?
That's right. So it's in the anime, and it's in the trailer, but it was never in the game. Okay. So they had to mod a metro into the game, so that you could get those scenic sights.
That's weird.
They also added in flying cars, which is just cool.
I mean, like that's necessary.
That's just necessary. It's the future. So now any car you go into, it has flight capability.
Which the Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah. It'll do it to bikes.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool, right? Cool. So all of the cool shit that you would not have gotten in the original game, you could just add in. Right.
So with Cyberpunk, the overall like experience that people were getting, I realized was sort of like there was so much hype to this.
Yes.
And because there was so much hype, the game developers had to rush a lot of things and put it out quickly. Is that the case?
The case is actually worse.
Okay.
Both what you're saying is bad as well. Cyberpunk has been in development since 2011.
Right.
Yeah, it has been, which is a very long time for a project development. And the problem is that whoever was directing it kept scrapping and starting again. You see? Like, there was one of the mods that it had in one of the gameplay trailers was that the person had mantis arms, which are mantis blades.
Yeah.
Which actually... Exactly. So you could actually go up the walls.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right,
And they
okay.
scrapped it suddenly.
Oh.
So... And it had multiple leaks throughout the years. And it showed how many times how it changed. So if you constantly change it, and at the end you suddenly get most probably somebody looked at you and was like, you better fucking finish it now.
Yeah.
Because people are burning out. CD Projekt Red, great company created The Witcher. If you go to their job page, it is filled with positions open. That's how many people will leave the company because it's just so bad working there. Because the person just constantly changes things, scrap things. You have to crunch and crunch again. And then suddenly it came to them like, okay, guys, look, we have all these. They had a lot of ideas. You can tell they had a lot of ideas. Like it had one of the things that I always imagined what a sandbox should be, which was. Can we, instead of having a giant sandbox map, can we have a smaller sandbox map? But you fill it to the brim. Like I can actually go into the building and go to each building and can interact.
Right.
So it has actually a vertical sandbox as well, instead of just a horizontal version.
Yeah.
And it did deliver on that to a certain degree, but it still like falls short of it.
Okay.
It's like, can I go off any building top room? Can I go shoot out everyone in this building and clear it out?
Yeah.
It did try to achieve that. It failed because of fucking management.
Yeah.
What Rakip mentions regarding that is actually quite correct. It's like everybody thought that they can actually create an experience that is really unique. But even the endings, people were like,
this is not.
None of the endings were satisfactory because it failed on the storytelling, and also all of them were like, it's almost like pulling a lift, something, and then he killed himself.
Yeah,
and then he jumped off the spaceship with a very you know the one that he jumps off the spaceship and points a gun at the satellite thingy.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it like, what? Huh? I didn't get it.
You know, I was talking to our good friend Kiran Bangladev, unhinged lunatic, angry person.
Yep. If he's out there, please call help.
Yeah, call the police.
The police or any authorities.
He doesn't even have Chrome on it. He already has cyberpsychosis.
God bless him. God bless.
He's a Malaysian Adam Smasher.
Yeah. He's Appam Smasher. Hey.
Oh no.
Now, he told me that what should have happened was the story in the anime should have just been the story in the game.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think hype affected Cyberpunk?
No, a lot of people were.
No.
A lot of people were really cynical about the franchise by the time the anime came out. So people were walking into this anime thinking, that's Studio Trigger. They tend to do a lot of very fanciful, hyperkinetic, extremely colorful. Like you thought Neon Demon was colorful. No. Studio Trigger is just vomiting neon colors all at you.
Okay, I got you.
And they came away from this at first somewhat childish looking anime series, even though it's got so much gore and so much boob.
A lot of boob.
So much boob. And
a lot of boob.
Yeah.
Not boobs.
No.
Boob.
Yeah, as a
singular,
as a non-quantifiable noun. Boob. And just came out
non-quantifiable.
Yeah. And they came out just emotionally distraught from the storyline. And, people, just memorials to the deceased characters popping all over YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it rang to them in such a way that the main storyline couldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, people like feel bad when the chick got smashed by Adam Smasher.
Yeah,
It was like, because I suddenly saw like posts and everything. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like I didn't care that much, but people really did care that much.
I mean,
it's like
nobody
cared about Johnny Silverhand.
No, because he was a dick.
No, it's just that nobody gave a shit about any part of the story.
Yeah,
not even your own character.
That's just the thing. You don't get emotionally invested in anything because it's so loose, right?
Right.
That's kind of the story of. That's kind of the power of having a really tightly written story, even when it's only 10 episodes long. It really exemplifies how in these post-apocalyptic worlds, you know, where flesh is just as much a substance as metal, right? There's still that fundamental human need for connection, which you think you can achieve with computers in your brain.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's so difficult to do. Right?
Yeah.
And we see this in real life right now, where we couldn't have been more connected, but we're still so alone.
The reason I bring up the hype thing is because recently I've noticed a lot of musicians put like little sound clips on TikTok and whatever, and then people use it as a sound in their other TikToks.
Yeah.
So it becomes popular, and they're like, "Holy shit! When is the song coming out? When is the song coming out?" And then they are incentivized to put the song out while the hype is still there.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is they rush it.
Yeah.
They don't finish it properly. And even then, even when they put it out, because what was given to people was like this reverb heavy, underproduced sound from like from a phone on a speaker. That is what they have interacted with. The moment they get the actual produced song, they're like, it doesn't live up to the hype.
There's a problem though. The people who do it with TikTok, for example, that you're talking about, that they create a hype for it, they are solely doing it for the TikTok because they are solely doing it to catch the hype train. So if it's like a renowned, Pink Floyd, for example, Pink Floyd would not put a single bit of a song on TikTok and ask people to make music about it. Pink Floyd would put out Pink Floyd. That's as far as it's gonna go.
Sam Smith doing Unholy on the other hand.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It was like you guys were working on this, and you put it out as like, oh, this is just a fun thing, and I like how it sounds.
Yeah.
But because you haven't finished, because TikTok is so fast,
the entire thing you try to do is to catch the hype train. It's like what a YouTuber would do. A YouTuber would put out a content.
Put a reaction video to a music video.
Put out a reaction video. Make sure the timing is right. You have to make sure you post at 11:25 p.m. Not a minute short, not a minute less. You have to be there's like all these calculations that they do to make sure that they hit it and people see it. Because the train is going fast and you be like ran over by the rest of the people behind you. So you better make sure you can stand up. That's the more.
There's one exception.
What?
Hudson Mohawk Seaback.
What?
Oh, the dolphin robot sex song that the dude played to have sex with his girlfriend that his girlfriend tolerated for 2 years.
That was so many words that I know individually, but together it was just very confusing.
My brain is confusing.
Wait, y'all don't know about Seaback?
No.
You don't know that song that goes
I know that song.
So what happened was you didn't hear about this on Reddit.
No.
So what happened was this dude has a playlist of just terrible songs.
Right.
One of them is Seabat by Hudson Mohawk.
Right.
And he would play Seabat as he was banging his girlfriend.
Okay.
So he was banging his girlfriend to Seabag.
Was he trying to torture her?
I don't know,
I
but
think
this
let's see how much this bitch puts up with.
this poor woman put up with it for 2 years.
Jesus.
2 fucking years. She said nothing. And then what happened was this thing became a meme first on Reddit and then on TikTok, because everybody was trying to figure out what kind of garbage stroke game this guy was doing to Seabat to such a point where no, I mean.
Or was it so phenomenal? Was it so phenomenal that she was like, I can deal with this?
Yeah. I want to think that there's some kind of voodoo magic behind this song where you thrust to it, suddenly 1,000 orgasms just coming out.
So what about okay.
Maybe his fucking game was so off the charts she couldn't fucking hear it.
Either that or his dick is so huge it doesn't matter what marimba beat he's
the pain she has to go through, it blocks out the noise.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So like
All the blood goes to the
It was one song in the playlist.
There was several songs.
There were several songs in the playlist.
Yeah.
But one of them was this dolphin sex song.
Yeah.
So
Robot dolphin
It's
sex
like fucking
song.
someone to the baby shark. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, that's still better rhythm. That's
it still has
Yeah,
like
yeah. So what happened on TikTok then? Were they people just wondering like,
yeah.
how is
they
this
were just
possible?
trying to figure out what the thrust tempo was. So it's just a 4x4, just or is it more like
It cannot be that. No.
Or did they have it on like a fast forward? So like.
And then what happened was amazing. A whole bunch of people, both on TikTok
Mathematicians.
and
Composers. Hans Zimmer.
the YouTuber Adam Neely, who is a musician.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I love him.
Had a breakdown on Seabat just to see people on TikTok were like, how garbage is this mad stroke game that it has to be broken down by music theorists?
Oh man.
And you might have garbage stroke game, but you've never had Seabat garbage stroke game.
Even if you have micro dick, I don't think it would be like that.
Honestly, I think you guys are being a little hard on it. I think you guys are being a little hard on it. Because
No, I'm just reporting. I'm just
like a long dick, like she wanted to be like really deep.
yeah, maybe.
Like you had to like lift it up and hammer it, like fucking
Full on
do
jackhammer.
the oil search. You know?
Yeah. Oh, Johnson & Johnson, that shit.
Just like knees on, legs on his shoulder, ass up to the curve.
Full Nelson. Yeah.
So here's the question.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
What happened?
To you.
I want that.
No. But also, like,
Yeah.
how long is the song?
It's about 3 minutes long.
What is there anything else that goes on apart from?
Oh yeah, that's a whole ass playlist, and it is a ridiculous.
There's no climax.
No, but it doesn't like build up like an EDM song.
No.
Like,
One of the
there's
songs
chorus.
is Shaggy. I don't know what to tell you.
No. The song Seabass.
It's pretty consistent.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's just consistent.
Oh my god.
It's just
It's like
I thought it would be
It's
like
a Super
building
Nintendo
or
background.
something.
I was expecting like it goes like
No.
something. Like,
There's no Zenith. There's no Apex.
Is it trumpets? Like, what's the sound?
It is dolphin robot dolphin fax machine set. So do you want to hear the sound?
No, I don't want to go home and think about this.
You should and you will.
Okay.
In fact, play that while listening to Ass to Ass.
It has to Imagine being.
We have achieved peak curse. This is why I'm here.
Oh my god, imagine being such a piece of shit. Ask to ask me like, but you have to do it to this rhythm. I give you money, you give me honey.
How hilarious would okay, Requiem for a Dream, we can all agree is a good movie. We can all agree it's a very intense movie, drama that's depressing as all shit.
Never seen a Wayne cry so much in my life.
Exactly. Imagine how much would it take out of the film if the entire soundtrack was Seabed?
Yeah.
How beautiful of a film can it really be?
Was it Marlon Wayans or Damon Wayans? I can't remember.
Marlon Wayans. Oh, I think it was Marlon.
Marlon?
Yeah.
You know that scene where he's sort of like juggling with his hand snipping?
Yeah.
What if Seabed was playing during that scene? With that's the heroin song. That would be the heroin song.
You're going way too like how because the ass to ass happens at the last 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Where all the hell breaks loose basically, and you see the consequences of their actions. What instead of what?
Or heaven, depending on who you ask.
I mean, for the dude.
The old man was the only guy who got what he wanted.
Dr. Fauci. He loved that.
Dr. Fauci in the White House.
You know why ass is so important to Dr. Fauci? Well, because your faces are apart. So you can't get COVID if you're ass to ass.
It was the original social distancing.
Exactly. If you're ass to ass, you are not mouth to mouth. This is social distancing.
Says that COVID cannot transmit between
So we went clear for predicted COVID.
Yeah, it's like how sex should be.
Yes.
Fucking hell. If that last minutes of it just turned into that, like she's like in a fetal position because it was a famous orchestra at the end of it that's like been used shit ton in the other films at the moment. It's a very ominous orchestra that some shit is about to go down and some shit did go down. Instead of that, it's just like people in the fetal position, someone crying, someone getting electrocuted. It's like you're gonna get electrocuted. Just instead of all of that, we just
you know what it is. You know what it is. In the same way that Cyberpunk 2077 got modded by people who wanted to make it better, this is how we make Requiem of the Dreams better. Yeah. We modded with Seabed.
How easy would the heroin scenes be if Seabed was playing the background?
Oh yeah,
I mean?
Or even better, let's remake Irreversible with the 15 minutes.
Oh my god.
Jesus
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I just watched it.
Just watched Irreversible?
I just watched Irreversible. I got a movie subscription.
Oh, movie.
So I just watched Irreversible.
Yeah.
Dude,
that movie made me throw up.
It's so intense and it's so like visceral. And in your face, like there's no mercy at all.
Yeah.
So the idea
of like having the
like
15-minute
like
Monica Bellucci, like getting pretty much the most scared. Like I don't remember any movie made me feel that way ever in my life. Because I remember I had burger that day, and I remember that because I threw it up.
That's what we did for dinner. Okay.
I saw that scene, and I was like, I just was like, and by the way, here's how you know my family is really fucked up in the head. I was way too young. And my brother, for some reason, was like, "Hey guys, we just had lunch." And my brother was like, "Hey guys, I got this movie from France. Let's watch it." And we were watching it. I saw a man butt fucking another man.
How old were you?
I was 11 or 12 or maybe 10.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
That is way too young. No parents should have really been around.
I think everybody was in such a shock. Because everybody was trying to understand what's happening. And when the rape scene occurred, I was like, I gotta go. And I went into the room and I was like, I gotta play some. There was no games in the computer. We only had World of Warcraft. And I hate strategy games.
Right.
And it always made me nauseous.
Right.
And I had this strategy game, and you know the builders make this like funny news like boom,
Yeah.
I heard that, and that was I went over the. That took me over the edge. I was like, it just made me throw. When I heard that, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta throw this up.
Yeah.
And I threw up. And the thing is, I felt like if I come out after 30 minutes, 30 seconds, it'll be over. I came out and like the dude had his fist up her ass or something. I was like, God, this is still happening. It's still happening.
Dude, like I see you watched it when you were like 10, 11.
I watched that scene, and that was the last scene I saw, and I was very angry.
Okay.
And that was a movie that I understood what rape was.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. And I felt I was raped. But that's
if anything, a little too much.
But now I appreciate it.
What, rape?
Yeah, this is the art to it, It's just
I'm just saying, Gaspar Noé is an artist. Like,
it's like, if you want to do it, you might as well do it in a hallway, have some good lighting, man. Come on. But no, the movie itself.
You appreciated.
Because there was thought behind it, actual thought behind it.
Right.
And it actually showed like, okay, if something like this is good, the life can be very normal. And only French and only European cinema will go there because they understand suffering from World War II.
I would say Japanese.
Japanese as well.
Oh, well.
Yes.
If you want Japanese shit.
Japanese like had the first Akira movie, the first Akira inspired movies, like a flaccid, like the guy turns into a machine. It's a black and white film.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's still bad to this day.
Yeah.
But only they, European and the countries that have gone through suffering, dare to go the extra miles and to show what the reality is. Americans never gonna go there because they're too comfortable unless they get fucked up one day. That's when they actually dare to create these kinds of daring artwork because then they know suffering. They never understood suffering. They show the rape scene. It's like, okay, life is very normal, and this lady just decided instead of going right, go left.
Yep.
And this happened to her. Most probably it's gonna happen in this manner, and most probably. The guy at the end of the hall who comes in, looks and decides to walk back is going to be you because you're not going to go help.
You're not going to intervene.
Yeah, you like to think you will, but you're not going to. And the dude finishes, and most probably the dude was going to kill her. And the dude did incapacitated, like she went into a coma.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I realized. I was like,
horror.
Okay, that's when I say it's like I don't watch horror films. Like I don't watch Conjuring.
Yeah.
Because these are the ones that really get to me, and I don't want to watch them either. Even like the guy who made the movie called. He recently got fucked up. He recently got Alzheimer's. He's a German guy who made a movie called The House That Jack Built.
Danish. Lars von Trier.
Lars von Trier, yeah. I don't appreciate him, but I was pretty fucking angry at him because the movie, like, he shows...
Oh, The House That Jack Built?
Yeah, I didn't watch it entirely. I watched clips of it. Because I was like, I'm not sure if I want to sit 2 hours and experience this.
I'll be honest, it's a good film.
But then I was like, at the end of it, but I saw it and I was like, I know what he did. And the thing is that you could have not gone to a certain extent.
Yeah, there was things that...
The killing the kids in front of the parents and all that was a bit much. But... the nature of violence and what he showcases about it is like the ugly side of it. He doesn't glamorize it. It's like, okay, this is what the guy's going to do.
This is what it is.
And the dude opens up the window. It's like, you know what? Nobody's going to help you. And starts screaming. You're like, yeah, most probably nobody's going to do that.
I think what I liked about The House of Jack Built was the fact that Jack...
I like how the penguin fucking led to... the penguin fucking song led to...
The House that Jack Built.
House Jack Built,
So
let's talk about...
Like, have you seen that?
No.
Do you know what it's about?
Yeah.
No, give me a synopsis.
So basically, it's a serial killer who is also an architect, hence the house that he... I mean, it seems like he has just mountains of money from the way he's doing this because he keeps starting and redesigning and breaking down the house and then starting again and all that shit.
Right.
But he's also killing on the side.
Right.
And... he treats killing like an art form. There's even stuff like he talks about the German bomber, be something. And specifically how when the German bomber would come down and it would like drop, right before it dropped the bomb, it had specific machinery just to create sound.
Oh yeah, the Yonkers bomber.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's talking to I think they refer to him as Vigil, but essentially like a form of like conscious thought, because he's a psychopath. So this is like the moral conscious of like
Virgil,
Virgil. And there's at one point like, do you find this beautiful? And it's like, yes, it's the sound of death. They knew that the sound of death was as important as death itself, and that's how he justifies this, that he's an artist, right? And the house that Jack built, the reason I liked it was because it's so clearly about people who drink their own Kool-Aid. Because Jack drinks his own fucking Kool-Aid. He loves that he's a killer. He loves that he does this. He thinks at one point he literally drags a body from one house to his house, and I think he just uses a bag or something, and the skull gets like destroyed on the road. So there's just this red stream following his car, and then the rain comes, and he takes this as a sign from God that this is what he's supposed to do, because it's literally it washes away, covering his tracks. And it's literally, so he continues with that like, I can do anything. So the violence to me is less about like, oh, this is how horrible it can be, and more about like, I want to see what I can do. I want to see what I can truly show. And it's weird because it's like, it's almost like Lars von Trier is commenting about himself, because he did Antichrist. So where it's, fucking graphic film. And it's almost like he's commenting on himself, that he's like, you all see me as this, provocateur, so I'm going to give you provocative content that you hate so much, but you're still going to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's not, you can tell he is an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like, come on, man.
No, because it was
but that was his point.
There's some imagery.
But like art, Antichrist or Melancholy.
And then, did you ever see Nymphomaniac?
I heard of it. I never really bothered with it.
The first there's literally a scene where she gives herself a coat hanger abortion.
Oh Jesus! I don't need to see that shit. And like that's the kind of a level they go to. And but do you think it's from suffering? Or do you think it's like the Berlin effect? You remember we were talking about Berlin? Like sort of like they've been numb for so long that they need to find more extreme ways to feel. It's a bit difficult to state it in this context, because the artist goes to a certain extent. Like if you want to talk about somebody giving himself a coat hanger abortion, is he trying to just have the Berlin effect, or is it coming from the stemming from suffering? But what is the purpose behind it? Because it's like there's a purpose behind Tarkovsky's. It's Tarkovsky, the Come and See. The purpose behind that, it was a graphic film, a horror film, which is about the suffering of World War and the close-ups of the people. Have you watched Come and See?
No.
Have you watched Come and See?
Is it Tarkovsky? No, it's the one that...
Is it Tarkovsky or...
It is Russian though.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Tarkovsky.
But it's one of those films that people...
Who's the guy who made Stalker?
Stalker was Tarkovsky.
Tarkovsky, yeah, same guy.
So you would say like the greatest horror film that isn't a horror film, right?
Yes, exactly. It shows exactly that. Now there is
that's suffering.
Violence behind suffering. Somebody giving himself a coat hanger abortion. Maybe it's a Berlin effect, because it's like, okay, what is the purpose behind Nymphomaniac entirely? Because Tarkovsky was trying to show what war is in of itself, and the war is there's a chance there's going to be a lot of dead bodies piled up behind the house, which you don't know about, and the meatballs that you're eating right now is actually from the soldiers.
Yeah.
And he's not going to really showcase it in a very graphic manner. It's just that when the dude leaves the house and runs out of the house and looks behind, he sees a lot of dead bodies there. Which
And then
kind
you
of
make the connection.
you make the connection yourself, so you suddenly realize like something happened and I don't like it, and that's suffering.
Mm.
Nymphomaniac, House that Jack built, Melancholia.
Yeah.
Melancholia was great. Antichrist was daring
Mm.
because he tried. You can tell he's attempting to get something.
Mm.
And it's always, I find that very noble for me. Every time I see an artist actually tries to like dig a little deep, it's good.
It's like what she did in Nymphomaniac.
Oh shit! You motherfucker! You went there.
No, the point in the reason I bring up Nymphomaniac was because it's two films. It's basically surrounded around a conversation. He does this a lot, Lars von Trier, where he has someone who has a strong opinion, like Jack, or like the main protagonist of Nymphomania, and then someone who is the audience.
Yeah.
Right? And Nymphomania was basically saying, like, what is and isn't acceptable? If I like it, why isn't it acceptable?
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. And I think, I don't really know the purpose of the coat hanger abortion, but it does put forth the idea of like, people have to do this.
Yeah, people
Like,
do this.
People do this because they don't have a choice.
There's that I appreciate as well.
You know?
It's always like, if you show the reality of a matter, and that's something I always like, it's like, I'm like, I think I should probably mention this. I was like, European cinema doesn't try to sometimes embraces reality and always try to showcases a lot of it, even if it's a form of a metaphor. It will try to put that forward to a certain extent in front of your face.
Yeah.
American cinema always goes for the exaggerated reality,
Yes.
and not the truth. Something that's much more appetizing, something that's much more delicious to eat, rather than the reality that we have at the moment. So if you have a Wolfman in America, American Wolfman would be a cool animated character who's gonna have force of good, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. An European werewolf, however, would kill a kid.
Yeah, he would kill a kid.
And he would feel depressed after he turns into his normal form.
It'd be his nephew.
It would be his nephew. It will go through that line because it will show the suffering of death. So there's always that thing that I'm noticing is that there is if it comes down to violence and suffering, and not all of them,
Of course.
but they are much more daring to showcase exactly that rather than steer away from it.
Do you remember what was the most recent Jared Leto Marvel film?
Morbius?
Morbius.
Yeah.
I was really excited for Morbius because I thought it was going to be him struggling with being a vampire, but also a hero. Like, he wants to do good.
Oh, you
but he
naive
also
thing.
needs. I know.
You naive thing.
But like what? But and I really. But now that you bring that up, it is so true that because it's not because it's American, but because it's Marvel, because it's this conglomerate, they need to make it shiny.
Yeah.
But like, can you imagine how good a Morbius would have been if he was literally like starving himself, and like trying to help people, and the people he helps, he's still looking at them as like sacks of blood.
Much.
You know what I mean? Like that.
But that's too much for the Americans.
I got the impression, generally speaking, that this was more or less true of Marvel before it became the MCU.
Yeah. That X-Men, remember?
X-Men
went on to a certain degrees of like X-Men 2, for example.
X-Men 2, the
when
last
he like injects her like with the fucking serum and all that. Like, it shows the struggles he goes through.
Right.
It did push the boundaries.
First Class was very good at that, watching people just, go through horrific, life-changing things, and then when you finally get revenge, you just end up becoming the monster you defeated, as in the case with Magneto.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
but by the time you get to the MCU, it becomes very shiny.
Yes,
And-
polished.
And the closest thing you get to like a deconstruction of what your beliefs are is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Captain
Obviously,
America.
Civil War.
The few things that stuck out exactly from the entire MCU repertoire was, like, even if you think about it, let me just say, it's like Captain America: Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, and one more would be Avengers, not the Endgame, but
Infinity War.
Infinity War, with the one that Thanos actually kills everyone. Infinity War, I would even add the last Doctor Strange that came out. The Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, just because Sam Raimi directed it.
And Scarlet Witch and
Scarlet
Doctor
Witch,
Strange,
but you can
yeah.
tell like he actually there was an attempt to push the envelope a little bit further than what it is. Because initially, I think Edgar Wright was about to direct it, and he wanted to make a horror film, which they for a while were on board with it, but then they went away. They gave him the wrong thing. Avengers Infinity War. It was one of the best Marvel films we saw, especially when he kills everyone. Nobody see that coming.
I really didn't think he was actually going to do it.
No, you don't think it's gonna be like that. It's just very, and the whole thing with Thanos really fit well.
Right.
But the only reason Avengers Infinity War is actually good because everything else was just so bad.
Yeah, everything else was so clean.
Everything else was so clean that the reason that people loved it so much, I would say, is because it's as if I give you 50 boring jokes and you're bored to fucking death, and I suddenly give you one, which is not even a great one. I would just give you something.
It's just better. Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh God, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what Avengers Infinity Wars was for Marvel. Because if everything else wasn't... What?
It was also consequences.
There was consequences, there was death.
Yeah.
Something that we weren't used to. But the thing is, it wasn't even pushed that far. But it's just that I think it's because we were just so like, all right, now he's going to do a one-liner. And now he's gonna be like,
I can do this every day.
I can do this every day. Yeah, for God's sake, start books. Why don't you just put down the shield and blow me? Come on, Chris.
Shut the fuck up, Steve.
Shut up, Steve. Yeah. But it's.
I love the idea of someone saying, Steve, just shut up.
the fuck up.
Shut up, man. Oh, yeah. Hey, let's talk more sucking, okay? You get that?
Come on, Steve.
It's
do what America does.
Yeah.
The one thing that
Get that Thor hammer.
you mentioned, the coat hanger abortion.
Yes.
And how
Imagine if Marvel had a coat hanger.
not Marvel, but
They did. It was called Ant-Man.
Well, she never knew what hit her.
Good Lord. No, but okay. So back in the 90s, I believe, the whole sort of gritty realness doesn't happen in feature-length movies.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, it will happen with like adult animation, like South Park. Now, there was a series back in the 90s called Moral Oral, and I don't know if you know about this.
No.
It was this claymation sort of show, right, that looked like a children's show, except that at some point the main character, who's this young boy of 14, who grows up in a very, very conservative, like Midwestern American town, does some really fucked up shit because he misinterprets religious law, right?
Oh, I think you told me about this. Yeah.
So the first episode involves him. The first episode involves him hearing a sermon. Well, he gets caught masturbating, right? So already this is like, yeah. So his priest, I believe, tells him that,
why don't you come over here and do it for me?
well, they didn't have scandal. Well, they did have scandal. They didn't get to that point. So they go
People
to the
just kept their mouths shut.
Yeah, back in my day, they probably would have done that joke. Actually, it's very on brand for like South Park or some shit. But the pastor of the church tells him that seed is only for reproduction and not for pleasure. You're not supposed to waste the seed, right? The whole onan thing in the Bible.
Right.
So what Oral ends up doing is
His name is Oral.
His name is Oral.
Orel. I know it's
Orel.
obviously
Yeah.
or Orel, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Orel. Yes. Yes, I would like to have some Orel.
Because when he said like there's a series called Moral Oral, I was like, there's
Already.
there's nothing immoral about oral. Just,
I mean,
It's technically sodomy. Did you know that?
yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's technically sodomy.
Oral is technically sodomy.
Yeah.
How? Where? In this one?
In Britain.
No, in like sodomy as a definition includes oral.
So all the rules, all the laws that we have in this country are British colonial rules, right?
Uh-huh.
And when the Brits were far more prudish, they had laws against carnal acts against nature. Sodomy is usually defined as butt sex, but in the 1700s they expanded it, or rather they've always expanded it. But legally, they would have expanded it to also include oral sex, or I don't know, hand jobs, anything that doesn't involve.
So I can say my priest sodomized me then, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, kind of.
I keep telling him, hey, not in the ass.
Unless it's another ass. Yes,
Get the cross, baby.
So what oral is about?
Sorry, Jesus.
The cross is the original double-ended dildo. Anyways.
So what? So in this
brought to you by Marquis de Sade.
120 days in Sodom.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You order now. If you order now, you get an extra day free.
Yeah, you know he has a very good line. It's
Yeah.
in the Hundreds of Sodom.
Use promo code ASS to ASS. ESS2, the number ESS.
One of the best advices he has to give is that you know anal sex is better if you ask for a shit.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That sounds like the thought. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't buy this book.
Oh, God.
Okay, son.
So, anyways, I was trying to say, what Arnold ends up doing is because he wants to jerk off,
right? Obviously,
but he can't waste the seed. So he goes around town at night with a giant syringe, just injecting women full of his semen.
And that was not where my brain
That was not
going.
where I thought
my
like,
brain was going to a jug.
Exactly.
No,
a jug,
no.
a pot of plants.
Yeah, something.
So he goes out, sneaks into the women's houses, and injects them full of his semen, so his semen doesn't go to waste.
Jesus Christ.
This is a claymation animation.
That's the thing that's scaring me more. It's like
That's intense. Like,
yeah,
that's really intense.
It's played for laughs, by the way.
It's like
the 90s was a very different
It's
time.
a very
oh
different
man, this is
hilarious rape.
Yeah, that's episode 1.
Oh man,
and it only goes from that. So it's very clear that although the golden age of American cinema isn't defined by the pain of war or the paranoia of the Cold War, unless you start going into like Ortiz shit, it's very apparent that when the kids finally grow out of the trauma of what their parents were taking out on them, right? All of those Gen X people who were clearly just getting out of, the world could end any moment, into, capitalism is now fucking me in the ass. Now have to deal with it, and now that's what
comes out.
That's what comes out. That's why TV animation was a thing.
Oh yeah,
that's why Adult Swim is a thing.
Adult Swim.
Yeah, come to think of it, a lot of MTV animations were very gritty. Down to
Aeon Flux and shit.
Aeon Flux.
I still can't get over it.
I never understood what it was about. It was just like I remember there was like two people like making out with this thing in their tongues, but it was like inside the mouth.
Yeah.
And I was watching that, and I remember I had cold sweats. Like not as an arousal, but it's like that cold sweats you get as a baby is like. the fuck am I in this?
I don't understand what's happening.
I don't like it.
We'll go back into the 90s animation in a bit, or 80s to 90s animation in a bit. But the reason why I bring up the coat hanger abortion thing is because coat hanger abortion is a plot point in the later episodes of Moral Oral.
Oh Jesus Christ! What is it? What is it?
So somebody does a coat hanger abortion.
So how does Oral?
He's not the main character. he's not the main character.
He's just like the guy.
So they start going into the lives of other characters who, at the surface, seem very normal. But you see the life of like Oral's mom,
Hence
his
more
dad.
moral.
Yeah.
So they appear this moral person,
Right.
but not really.
Right. So the whole story is about moral hypocrisy, essentially, and how religion is often used as a tool to repress people and oppress people and there's no way you can live up to the moral standards
Of course, yeah.
of a conventional society. So everybody ends up doing shit behind closed doors. But the problem is that when people end up doing shit closed doors, it's far more extreme than if you just let people do shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a coat hanger abortion.
Like coat hanger abortions, right?
You don't allow safe abortions.
Yeah.
People still need to get rid of their kids.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. More, and that's a plot point in Moral Order.
Right.
So this was an example of 90s animation. And when you talk about how American society is like too comfortable, which is why the movies are so saccharine.
Yeah.
That's not true of their adult animations for some reason, and I don't know why.
I think it's because it's animation.
I was about to say the same thing.
I see.
I think it's because it's animation.
It's more of a simulacra, but like a simulacra times 100.
Yeah.
They can almost like,
you can detach much further away.
Yeah.
And animation, like a South Park kids teaching wild jungle tigers and jungle cats how to perform an abortion on Kenny is
that sounds about right.
Yeah, it is so good. It is not.
That's not a plot point.
Have you seen that?
I didn't know. I thought you were making that up.
No, I swear to God, that's an actual episode.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
It's about Kenny. Kenny was a Jew one, right?
Well, that's Kyle. Kyle.
Kyle becomes friends with the forest creatures, like forest animals.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Hey, Kyle, what's up? Let's become friends and all that." And then suddenly realize that all the animals of the forest worship Satan, and it's time of the month for them to put the baby Satan inside Kyle,
right?
So he he can give birth to the Antichrist.
Oh, I've seen this movie, yeah.
And
I've seen this movie,
and they tie him up, and all that. And before that, I think the gang actually kills I forgot the name of the wild cat, not the cat, the
beast.
No, it's like a tiger, but it lives in the jungle, in the mountain.
Mountain
cat.
Mountain lion. Okay.
Mountain lion, yeah. They killed a mountain lion, but actually the mountain lion was a good person because the only thing that can actually stop the Antichrist is a mountain lion of that place.
Yes, you do, yeah.
And then they realized that the mountain lion has kids, but the kids couldn't defeat the thing, so they had to teach the kids how to perform abortion on Kyle. So it has to be done by they took the baby mountain lions to the abortion clinic, so the doctor can teach the mountain lions how to perform an abortion.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
And they perform it, and they take the baby out, and the Kyle picks it up, and this is the great part. I think I'll let you. You know what? I'm not going to spoil it.
No, spoil it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Kyle gets mad and goes and jumps and says, "No, give me back the Antichrist. I'm gonna make the world a better place for all the Jews." And then you realize it's actually an essay written by Cartman. He's singing it he's reading it to the whole class.
Oh my God!
This whole whole episode was a fantasy that Cartman was reading. And then he says, "And they all lived happily ever after, except of Kyle. He died of AIDS." To this day, it's one of the most fucked up things. I was like, at that episode it happened.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense within the context of American cinema and American media at the time.
Yeah.
It was oh, we're all good now. Everything's fine now.
Yeah.
Everything's going well. The Cold War stopped.
Yeah.
Everything was supposedly on a high.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're met with no, we're not okay.
No.
Like
And
even
then Columbine happened.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
like even when there was like an actual horror, like a war movie, I forgot the name of it. An American soldier rapes an Iraqi woman, but then gets killed by Alexander Skarsgård.
Just as Alexander Skarsgård. Not even as a character.
He was just in the
like, hi, I'm
neighborhood.
Alexander Skarsgård.
I'm here to kill you. But he comes in, she's getting raped. He comes and puts a knife under his rib cage and just starts stabbing him like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
The thing is, if there's a horrific event that occurs in an American film, it always follows up with something rather epic.
Right.
To take away immediately that part of it. It's like, that moment was getting
justified.
raped, but this man came in because it doesn't show an actual fight. It shows a very cool way.
Right.
It shows him coolly.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it holds his hand and his hand just starts repeating one motion like 50 times in a quick 30 seconds. And the dude just drops dead and just wipes the knife, gives it to the girl, and walks out. That's how Americans actually in an actual reality scenario, they water it down.
Right.
So here's something horrific, but don't worry, there is this better thing that happens.
Of course.
However, in the animations that you mentioned now, no, the animations actually sometimes even went above and beyond.
Yeah.
Even like you mentioned claymations, I do remember watching older claymations, American claymations. Those were very scarring.
Yeah.
Because I always thought like, oh, animation is
reaction. Almost like a reaction to like what was happening. Like, you know, just like, oh, because it's so sacred. And it's like, look, we gotta fucking push it now.
Yeah.
Just to make out like Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Happy Tree Friends was violence for the sake of violence.
It was for the sake of violence because everything else was just like this clean, pristine thing. But like that's such a good point that you bring up of like this American idea. Well, I don't think it's an American idea. I do think it's more of a human thing.
Right.
Where it's like violence needs to be justified and therefore it needs to look heroic. It needs to seem as though it's the good. It's good versus evil. It's always good versus evil. And it's always black and white. Yeah. It cannot exist anywhere else. But in true fact, he's still killing a dude.
And in true fact, they do this raping a girl. Yeah. You see? But the thing is, they only show like once in a while. You don't see an American soldier going to rape another girl. Yeah. It like rarely happens, but even though when it happens in a movie, like one American soldier is like looking at a girl and his sergeant like has an eye on him and like the second he's about to touch the girl, he gets shot in the head. Yeah. It's always that.
It's always like everything works out in the end.
It's always like testosterone fueled, like America kind of a thing. Like you might as well every time that happens, like you have a flag fall behind it.
Just fireworks.
In every movie,
he was a rapist, but he killed the bad guy.
Right. In every movie where there was a person doing a terrible thing in the name of the country, there was always a system in place in order to rectify it. Whether it was a few good men, the general's daughter, it's always there's always a serviceman.
A few good men,
there's always somebody doing something very terrible. But don't worry, the system will the
system works.
The system works.
Yeah.
Right. And around the 80s towards the 90s, you know, that's where you got things like, again, Cyberpunk, where they'll just straight up tell you the system won't work. The system won't save you. And then you get from that to like Aeon Flux, for instance. And it's like, so this is the system. There's poor people on one side. There's rich people on another. There's a wall, right? And if you go through that wall, there will be wires there that will ensnag you and amputate you on the spot.
Rip you apart.
Yeah. Not even rip you apart. There was one episode of Aeon Flux where I kind of wish I didn't watch it.
Why?
Because it involved the lady who was having, from the rich side of the city, who was having an affair with the man from the poor side of the city.
Of course.
And at some point, the head of the rich side of the city decided to put up a barricade where it would just have these razor wires that would ensnare you. But it wouldn't cut you up. It would just ensnare you.
Of course.
And the machines, robot arms would come out of the walls and cleanly amputate your limbs off.
Jesus Christ.
And you can see one saw coming down, one robot arm injecting the anesthesia, another arm sawing your limbs off screen, and another one with sutures that's sewing up your thing. And then it zooms out, and the girl who jumped across now has no legs.
Oh.
And it's this grotesquely, clinically clean kind of violence that just made me want to hurl a little bit.
That's like some Nazi vibe.
That is some Nazi
some
shit.
clean, like almost just mentally absent. Like they're not human.
Yeah.
They're not human. We can do what we want with them.
Exactly.
That's kind of what's happening now. When you think of it.
Yeah. It's only in this subculture, this underground subculture that usually came out, that you could really only do with animation because you could draw it, right?
Yes.
It's a lot easier to depict if you can just draw it, and if you can stomach what you just draw.
Jesus.
That will tell you in no uncertain terms, your system is fucked. 2,000 years from now, it will still be fucked if you keep carrying on with the same principles. That's why, and you also, when you're doing movies and they're military movies, your aid comes from the military.
Yeah. You have all the equipment, all the things. If you don't want to use CGI, it's just going to be them.
Yeah. Nobody's going to start doing morally gray shit. Like, how?
They will make it a point to make sure that your script is actually good.
Yeah.
If you have a military movie, the military needs to vet it to be like, is it pro-military or not?
Yeah.
That's why Kubrick had a problem. Actually.
That's it. That's kind of reason. That's another reason. That's why Francis Ford Coppola had a huge problem making Apocalypse Now.
They're like, what is this? So you have to use like Filipino, not Philippine. What was it? Where did he shoot? Philippines?
I want to say Vietnam.
Or Indonesia?
Oh, seriously? Okay, I didn't know that.
Myanmar, yeah, sorry.
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia, he had to use like their helicopters and shit.
Right, okay.
Incidentally,
Same with Platoon.
Incidentally, that scene where they're hacking the buffalo into pieces,
that's a real buffalo.
That's a real scene.
Jesus.
They use real bodies too.
Yeah, because...
Because they were just around? Or like...
Because it turns out that's a ritual that was just happening at the time, so they just filmed it. So these days when I look at Apocalypse Now, the director's cut, the full movie.
The last one that came out.
Oh yeah, that was like 5 hours long.
Oh my god.
It's such a good film.
It's very good.
Worth it.
It is beautiful to watch, but I kind of watch it almost like a dark documentary.
Of course, yeah.
Like if true crime happened on a global scale.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I watch Apocalypse Now.
It was like Brando was reading as like their airplanes are going to be last speech he's giving is like are meant to fly over and drop bombs on babies, but they cannot write fuck on the side of the plane because it's obscene. Just like it's the way the world works, and that movie kind of showed the violence and the moment that somebody goes over the edge and takes a look at the other side, and then when he reaches the other side and actually is overcome by it.
Yeah.
The system that is meant to tell you that, hey, it's all good, everything is fine, they try to take you out. Because, like, Kurtz wasn't a good person. Like, he was a good person, became a bad person. But nobody was good either.
But that's the thing. I feel like
he
with
wasn't
Kurtz specifically, because I haven't seen the movie, but I have read analysis about Kurtz, because he's like one of these villains that's just is seen as like one of the greatest villains of all time, right? And him specifically, what I feel is that he's not, like you said, he's not this good guy who turns bad, but he's rather he's just a man who realized that some things work better. Yeah. Like literally when he talks about like when they inoculate the people and then they cut off the arms, and they were like, that's genius. Yeah. Because that showed they will remember that forever. Yeah. And it's that kind of, I think that's kind of, for a lot of people, that's scary. The idea that cruelty, violence, murder, horror is literally just another section of life. Yeah. Yeah. It it is as natural. Like murder
Yeah.
is as natural as flowers.
That's what
blooming.
people don't want you to
They don't want to think that.
No.
People are so uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's the reason why, like, oh, you can't show animal cruelty,
Yeah.
but you can absolutely eat nuggets in the cinema.
Yeah.
Right.
Both of them come from the same thing of killing animals,
Yeah.
but yet we're trained like, oh, because we can't see it, it's so far away, so like I'm a good person still.
Right.
Exactly.
Are you? Like,
Are you really? Because I've been to like a makeshift slaughter area 4 times in a row. There's, for like AUDIBLE, right? Yeah. 4 times I've done that. I was on the skinning team. Yeah. At some point, you're like, there is no God here.
Yeah, at some point you're just like,
That's the
this is
thing.
crazy.
That's the problem.
We've convinced ourselves, I think we convinced ourselves that good is clean and it's pure.
No, good is, in reality, good is doing what is necessary and what is right at the moment by everybody. So, and accepting the good and the bad side, the violence. I won't even call violence as bad. I would call it as just another part of yourself.
Yeah.
And if you accept that, which is that goes into your shadow, is when you become truly powerful. That's what Jung believed. That's what Jordan Peterson talks about. Is that if you accept your shadow and integrate it. Kurtz wasn't integrating his shadow. He basically became overcome by it, essentially, and he wanted to die because of it. The people who you talked about, the pile of inoculated arms, and that actually came and cut the girls who got their hands inoculated off. His description is that they're the people who would cut it off and won't really go on crying about it. He would be like, "That's what I did.
Because it had to be done.
It had to be done. Now I'm going to go have breakfast with my daughter. And the next day is going to be a good day. And if it's required for me to do this again, I will do it." That's what comes with some... Like, I've read and saw a few military people who have a complete integration of that. And some prisoners as well who have documentaries about, like, from Aryan Brotherhood and like that. It's like...
Have you seen The Act of Killing?
I know.
I feel like you would really enjoy it.
I'll check it
because
out.
Because it's like what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like that part of it is that I'm going to get up now and I'm going to take that machete and I'm going to hack you. And I'm not... But the Americans, however, it goes to that again. An American will showcase as somebody killing somebody. Of course, without it. Won't take pleasure from it.
No.
And for the rest of his life, he will be thinking about it. I mean, that does stem from not integrating your shadow, but the way they showcase it in the movies is that there's always going to be that this is wrong, and there's always going to be it always will be wrong, and there will be ramifications for you mentally because of it. While in other societies, it's much more of a matter of like, you're an asshole, you will get consequences, and you will be dealt with, and it's what it is.
There is a danger though when when portraying that in movies.
Yeah.
Because you have a danger of taking somebody that's supposed to be something you should not be.
Yeah.
And making it a bit too cool.
Yeah.
That's what they fail at. That's what Americans do.
Every action movie.
That's what Americans do. Punisher is a cool dude.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, they really lost the plot of Punisher. Like, no, he's not supposed to be a good guy.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious at some point, but no one's going to pay attention to that.
No, of course not.
In the Netflix series, when you watch Punisher, it's pretty clear that he's torturing himself doing all of this. Like the blonde from Daredevil eventually becomes his counsel, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And keeps telling him, you're torturing yourself.
Yeah.
You are killing yourself. And that's not even going to bring your family back. But he keeps going.
Of course.
And the whole story of Punisher should essentially be a tragedy, like a Greek tragedy of a man who is cursed with destiny, right?
Yeah.
But no one looks... You have all of these cops with Punisher logos on them, not real.
Yeah, it's like...
No, it sounds as it's a fucking SEAL teams have it as well. It's like it's a sign of death, and
Yeah.
courage,
Punishment.
punishment.
Yeah.
And basically, people see it buried with pride.
Yeah, and it's weird and gross. And and that's that danger of like when you're supposed to make something like this is what you will end up as if you don't guard yourself from all of this terribleness. Right. But if you make them into a protagonist, people automatically assume that you're a hero. This is what happened with Rorschach in Watchmen.
Yeah.
Rorschach ended up being this.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Rorschach.
Everybody loves Rorschach. But if you ask Alan Moore what he's supposed to be, he'll tell he's a nutcase.
He's literally the worst case scenario of a superhero.
He's a fucking loony,
Yeah. And that's this is why I think I get it. American stories are really, 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 really like saccharine in that sense. But there's so many crazy people in that country, man. And they will pick up any character, like Taxi Driver, for instance.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Right. What's his name?
Trevor?
Trevor Bickle. Right?
Trevor Bickle, yeah.
Trevor Bickle is supposed to be a cautionary tale of what will happen if you
don't take care of your trauma.
If you don't take care of your drama, or if he was he a veteran?
He was a Vietnam veteran.
He was a Vietnam veteran. And this is what happens if you don't take care of your veterans.
If you're in isolation.
And you're in isolation, and you become this person who essentially radicalizes yourself in isolation. And this is what happens if you don't fucking take care of your people.
Yeah.
And they don't. And I think America now, having seen shit like this happen again and again and again and again and again, has had to force itself to either be very saccharine or be very, very violent with its shit so that you find it nauseating.
Yeah.
Because anything in between, right, is weirdly seductive.
Yeah.
There have been moments in my life where I look at Colonel Kurtz and go, oh, I would like to be a cultist warlord in the middle of Southeast Asia and create a kingdom of death. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then
I did that.
Huh? Wow.
Wow. All right, dude.
He didn't shave his head yet.
Yeah.
Also, he takes very good care of his weight. That's my.
That's the only difference.
That's the only,
He throws an Egypt's head on your lap.
yeah. Just
crazy.
Apa nama? Well, actually, he died before.
Is that your impression of
Yes.
Martin?
Actually, he died before I cut off his head. I cut off his head post-mortem. I used to be a doctor.
You got that.
It's not a full laugh, it's just a
He's like haha and the emoji, laugh emoji.
Yeah, he has to laugh to show that he's human.
yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Fucking yeah.
Yes.
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 He was the actual. He was the original person.
Yeah. So that's the problem. You have to go one way or the other. Because if you make like American History X is a very good example.
Yeah. By the way, let's wrap this up. Yeah.
American History X is obviously a cautionary tale, of neo-Nazism in America and how people slip through the cracks and become radicalized, right? Neo-Nazis in America are still prevalent to this very day, and they end up radicalizing people even when they don't agree with their ideologies, like the IRS bomber, what's his name? Oklahoma City bomber.
Ted Kaczynski.
The other one,
the guy who blew up the building.
The IRS building, yeah.
I forgot the name. Yeah, I forgot the name. I was actually thinking about him just now.
Yeah.
The guy.
He was one who wrote the manifesto, right?
No,
it was Ted Kaczynski.
That's Ted Kaczynski wrote the manifesto. That's not the one, the Oklahoma. I can't remember his name. Anyway, so here's the problem with American History X. It's obviously a very cautionary tale of, neo-Nazis. But Oliver Norton looks pretty cool in that movie.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's like, that's like...
I'm glamorizing this thing.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said curb stomping doesn't seem like a little fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay,
You know what I
no,
mean?
I think you're.
Not,
dude.
not
Wow. Hold on.
wait. Not races of people,
Yeah.
but specific people.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
Whenever, I would admit that when I'm angry, sometimes I would imagine curb stomp the
Yeah.
person.
Exactly. I'm not
Like,
saying like
no.
when I'm like relaxing,
No.
I'm thinking like
Not a curd stomp, but if he's like a
curd tap.
yes, a curd tap. If he's like a social media
Boink.
influencer from a hype house, and he also happens to be a crypto
Yeah,
bro.
doesn't pay for tickets.
Yeah, curb tap.
Yeah,
Gary V.
Curb tap.
Curb tap.
Curb tap.
Logan Paul.
A curb stomp.
Curb
Full curb
Full
stomp.
curb stomp with a boot.
Yeah.
You show the hang body in the forest, man.
Yeah,
like, you
that's-
don't.
Oh no,
You
that's
need more than a
that's
tap.
napalm in the morning territory.
That's,
That is
you're done.
that. No, so much stomping.
Yeah.
Full on river dance.
Oh god.
Just full on Irish. Just
fucking-
Heidi.
It's just see bad.
Yeah, just see that. Stomp. Oh my god. I've turned into a monster.
Coming in a loop, bro.
Just coming into a loop. Coming in a loop. Yeah.
Hey yo.
I've depleted all of my sanity points.
Okay, Jesus. I don't think we have any.
Is there a moral to this shit?
How do we wrap this segment up exactly? Because we have something else to talk about. Which I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes, that.
Yes.
Ass to ass. I think, yeah. We just wrap it up with that.
Yeah.
Ass to ass.
The moral of the story is
Well,
Ass to ass.
oh, we don't have a way to wrap this up. So
Yeah.
there you go. Ass to ass is the way.
Ass to ass, guys.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is
Sorry. I have nothing. I have zilch. Yeah. Well, we can end it with the Americans like their shit sugar coated and Europeans don't.
yeah. Yes.
It's fair.
Sometimes literally, I
Yeah.
feel depends if it's going on your chest. That costs extra, apparently.
That's my caramel macchiato.
Oh,
Okay, there we go. There it is.
There we are.
Okay.